here we are again with our lovely foam roller. We're going to sit up high on our sit bones and then roll the roller underneath the calves, underneath the center of the calf, somewhere between, halfway between the ankle and the knee. So a lot of us have a lot of tension in our calves. This can be pretty intense. You could start by just using both calves on the roller. Let's see how it feels to cross one leg over the other at the ankle to add just a little bit more weight. We're going to roll from side to side, and then when you're ready, start to shuffle your bottom backwards so that we can feel the roller traveling down towards the ankle and into the lower calf muscle soleus and some other muscles that are hiding in there too. We can see what we find there. Maybe you'll find a lump that you want to stop and wait on. Perhaps there's nothing much there. Perhaps you've spent a little while on there, and now we can move the roller up to the upper part of the calf, somewhere between halfway and the knee, where we've got gastrocnemius, and we can do some work through here. Now this is all going to be so dependent on your body and how your body works and your alignment, so I'm just using this as a guide for you. You can spend a long time on your calves. I would love everybody to spend twice as much time as they think on their calves, so please feel free to do 5 minutes on each, 10 minutes on each, whatever you need to. A few tips here. Make sure that your foot is nice and floppy, that the ankle is not working. You're not flexing your ankle, dorsiflexing your ankle. You're going to keep the ankle floppy, which will enable the calves to be nice and soft and malleable. So when you're ready, you can change sides, do exactly the same thing on the other side, starting at the center, working your way down and then working your way up. Great, so we've had a look at that. Let's move on now. Moving up to the hamstrings, you're going to have the roller just, I'm going to show you on this side actually, you're going to have the roller just under one thigh, so the other thigh is free to rest on the floor. Once you've done that, lift the hips away from the floor and then cross the other leg over at the knee. So this does a few things. It will add a bit more pressure. Pressure is always good when you're rolling. It will also enable you to maneuver towards the inside of the leg and towards the outside of the leg too. So we'll start with a technique called cross fibering, where we're moving sideways along the length of the muscle. And this helps to split the muscle fibers up from each other and allow the muscle fibers to move more freely and the muscles themselves from each other. So we can move the roller as we wish, up or down the thigh, seeking out the areas of tension, stopping on any points that you can feel more than others, and waiting for those points to release. We could also lift the hips away from the roller, from the floor, and roll up and down the leg. So now treating the muscle like a piece of dough that we're rolling out with a rolling pin. Try the inner thigh, try the outer thigh. Great. So the whole time we're working on the upper leg, the one thing I want you to avoid is rolling the IT band, the iliotibial tract, which runs from the hip down to the lower leg. And you can imagine that this is the side where the side seam of your trousers would be. So that's the only bit I want you to avoid, that and the kneecap itself. So let's move on, taking the roller higher on the leg now, all the way up to the bottom cheek, to the glutes. I'm showing you on the other side now. So we're sitting on the sit bone, and then from there, we're going to roll forward so the roller travels up towards the hip. And then you can stop where you feel that the roller is sitting in that fleshy mass of the glutes. And again, we'll try our cross fibering technique, rolling out to the side and then back towards the tailbone. You might feel nothing at all here. You might feel lots, it might feel like a great relief. Either way, give it a few moments, because sometimes if the muscles are too tight, it can take a few moments to let the roller penetrate the tissues and actually get a decent effect. And you can again play around here. If your wrist feels uncomfortable in this position, try coming down onto your elbow instead. Keep the lower leg nice and relaxed, keep the knee nice and relaxed. Try to have as little tension there as possible. So we've done the hamstrings on both sides, we've done the glutes on both sides. It's time to move on to the front of the leg now. So I'm going to turn around and face the roller instead. And I'm going to pop the roller underneath my shins. So I'm sitting on my heels like this. So from here, let's try and stay nice and high on the shins as we rock from side to side. You can sit on one side now and then begin to roll down towards the ankle. See what you can find on each side. A little tip for you here, if you are a runner and you suffer from Shin Splint, which is when you get that awful pain underneath the kneecap, just at the bottom of the kneecap, doing this roll can be incredibly effective at treating that. You can roll all the way down towards the ankle and all the way back towards the knee, just making sure we don't go over the knee itself. Great. So, moving on. Let me show you the fibularis. So, your fibulary muscles run from here down the outside of the leg into the foot. They can be partly responsible for creating a flat foot because they pull the outside of the foot up towards the outside of the knee and drop the arch here. So a really good way to work on that condition is to start with a little bit of this. So we'll take the roller to the side of the leg, just underneath the head of the fibula, which is this bony protrusion just to the side of the knee. Once you're there, one leg on top of the other if you can, and that may well be enough pressure for you. It might be sensitive here. If you want to and if you're strong enough, you can lift yourself into a side plank and work on them here, rolling down just a little way and up towards the knee again, making sure we don't go over the joint. You can rock from side to side as you roll, and this is beautifully effective. Great. So I'm going to move on. We'll assume that we've done both sides now, and now come to the quads, which tends to be everyone's favorite. So the roller will come towards the knees. We're going to now roll onto the elbows so that the roller is sitting underneath the thighs. And I like to always start as close to the kneecap as I can, but not on the kneecap. Start to rock from side to side. You're going to feel some clunking, some bumping as the muscles shift away from each other. We'll do this a few times and just loosen up this lower part of the muscle a little bit and separate the muscles from one another. Then when you're ready, point both knees towards the floor. Make sure that you keep your tummy muscles nice and strong so your back doesn't arch like that. And now we can begin to walk the elbows towards the roller so that the roller rolls up towards the pelvis. Keep your legs nice and floppy and loose. It feels a little bit like you're squeezing toothpaste out of a tube, and you can imagine that toothpaste to be all the toxins and the waste products that we store up in the muscle, creating tension and pain. We'll roll towards the pelvis and then make our way all the way back. So we have 4 quadriceps, 2 that run down the middle and 1 that run either side. We want to get to all of those. So let's now turn towards me just halfway so that we're not on the side seam of the trousers, not on the IT band, but we're just to the muscle to the side between the two. And then start to make your way towards the hip. Now this, I've noticed on everybody that I work with, tends to be the most uncomfortable muscle to roll. However, it is one of the most effective muscles to release. If you release this, then you can decrease pain and tension through the lower back, the pelvis, even the neck, to be honest. So with this muscle, because it tends to be quite overactive, we don't want to irritate it, brush it too much. So we're going to find the points of tension that are really effective, stop and wait on those. Give it some time, give it 30, 60, maybe even 90 seconds to release and change. We may not get rid of all of the pain, but if we can change it just slightly, then we know that we've done something, and that's great. Because once we've released a muscle a little bit, we add some movement, then we flush a lot of the issues out of the muscle by doing that. Okay, so look for maybe 2, 3 or 4 points on the muscle before you move on. Assuming that we've done that and you've spent some time on each, we're now going to take the roller just a little bit higher on the leg. Roll until you feel that the hip bone is just above the roller on this side of the roller. I'll give you a few other ways to find this point. So we're looking for the hip flexors. You could come onto the side of the leg for a moment, exactly where I said not to go, but just for a moment, and then roll towards the hip until you go over the top of the thigh bone. You'll feel a bump, and then you'll go squish into a nice pocket of flesh. That's where your hip flexors are. Once you're there, we can start to rock side to side, going from the front of the hip all the way to the back of the hip. If you need a little bit of support for your head, feel free to hold your head in your hand so that we don't create tension in the neck. And again, stop whenever you feel like you've hit a really good point. Great. So again, spend as much or as little time on each side, on each muscle as you want. I'm going to move on and show you the last thing on the leg. So we'll lie down onto our side, have the leg on the roller, the inner thigh on the roller, and then we're going to point the toe down towards the floor and then begin to roll up towards the pelvis, almost rolling onto your front. And this helps to release the inner thighs and also the other quadricep on the inside aspect of the leg. You can turn the knee quite far down towards the floor and see what else you can find. There are quite a few muscles here that you can work on. There we go. So, your lower leg release. I hope you enjoy.